What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of JMB Unsupervised. We are heading into week 3 of the NFL season, but we're going to recap week 2 of the NFL. But before we get to that, you definitely need to go out and get yourself some of this Oreo Coca-Cola. Honestly, pretty delicious. Honestly, on the low. We mix it with a couple of drinks. Those will be posted later on this weekend, so make sure you look out for those as well. But it was a very we're going to start with Thursday Night Football. Was the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, and the biggest story coming out of that game was Tua got another concussion, and everybody wants him to retire, and he's basically saying, "I'm not retiring." They did put him on IR, so he's not allowed to come back till like week 7 or week 8 because I think their bye week falls somewhere in there.
Well, IR is a minimum of at least 4 weeks, so he's out at least 4 weeks. And I mean,
what? I don't know. First of all, you already know you have a concussion issue. Why go head first? Why are you not sliding? I get it's in the moment. You were trying to get the first down. He'd already got the first down.
Well, do you remember last offseason he practiced falling?
Yes.
Apparently needs to practice running through people, not leading with your head.
I'm not the biggest advocate of him to retire, but I'm like, dude, you are 26. You were pretty much saying if you're going to come back and play, like you said, guardian cap.
I think he needs to wear a guardian cap. Be the first quarterback to wear a guardian's cap because you clearly have a soft chromosome. Like, your skull is clearly soft, and your brain...
literally saw him get hit, and he crinkled back up again. Like, his arms rolled back, and it's like, oh my God, here we go again.
It wasn't as bad as the first time, but he did... When that happens, so when you see people lock up, it's because your brain shut off, boop, and then it reboots, and that's never a good thing because what if your brain don't boop and reboots? It just says beep.
Like I said when we talked about it earlier, I just hope the people that he talked to about this decision have his best interest at heart because he can walk away with $124 million. And just walk away.
You're not necessarily just going to walk away with all that money.
That's the guaranteed money he gets to walk away with.
If he fulfills his contract.
No, if he has to retire if they was to medically retire, if the NFL was to forcibly medically retire him, he could walk away with $124 million.
If the NFL forced him to retire.
A lot of people feel like the NFL needs to step in.
No, I don't think so at all. There's been instances of players that have had a lot of concussions and they just haven't been on this magnitude or scale of that at that position. He's had one concussion every year for almost the past 5 years. 4 concussions in the past 5 years, reaching all the way back to his days in college. He's always been kind of a fragile guy. He broke his hip in college.
He's got a long list of injuries.
But if you have to take, we as outsiders look you don't play.
He's 26.
Try to tell somebody not to play their favorite sport.
We also looked at it too. I think about us when we were growing up and playing sports. We got hurt. What was our natural reaction? I'm going back in.
I'm going to play through it.
I'm going to play through it.
And that's not for no money. This dude is on the prime stage. At the prime of his career, the prime of his life.
Making $53 million a year.
Getting to throw the ball to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill on the Dolphins in the great state of Florida. So it's why walk away from that? That'd be tough. But if he's getting medically clear, his doctor's no, your brain's healthy, you're fine, but you need to recover. And that's something that, he could have long-term lasting effects later in his life.
Yes.
But that's kind of a risk you take playing football, though. Because
like you said, I agree. If he's going to come back, when he does come back, guardian cap.
I think if I was a family member of his, and I'm do you really want to play this game still? The risk. I personally think you should be looking into wearing a guardian's cap. They've modernized them. You see players out there now wearing them in games, and I think somebody like him that has issues getting hit in the head, not even getting hit in the head, just falling and just barely hitting his head, he gets concussed. He would be a great life-saving thing for him potentially to wear a guardian's cap. Start the trend and maybe more people start wearing them.
Well, you have some guys that are already wearing them, and some people kind of poke at it. At the end of the day, you're just trying to protect yourself.
They look funny. I wouldn't wear one. A lot of former players say, well, I wouldn't wear one. I'm no, because you look funny. But at the end of the day, you take care of your health. Some players will go their whole career without getting concussed. You're not telling me Patrick Mahomes, when he busted his helmet, he didn't get a little concussed there.
Yeah, no, you're not.
That game was so fucking... the game was really cold, so that's why the helmet kind of cracked. A lot of players go their whole career without ever getting diagnosed with a concussion, but That's my opinion.
Outside of that, the Buffalo blew out the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
It was 31-10. Buffalo is now 2-0. Josh Allen, dark horse MVP candidate at this point. Like, he carrying the Dolphins. I mean, him and James Cook has arrived.
Carried the Bills.
Carried the bill. Like, James Cook has arrived. In that game, he had, 11 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen, 13 of 19, 139 yards, a touchdown. Like
I've said before, I just kind of thought they weren't going to put the workload all on Josh from start to finish. They're going to use their depth at running back and try to control, the game and the clock.
And then you go to Miami. I mean, like I said, you got blown out by 3 touchdowns. Tua before getting hurt, 17 of 25, 145 yards. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions.
Yeah,
it just wasn't good.
It wasn't a good game. It wasn't even close for he got hurt. That's my thing, too. He got hurt, sometime in the third quarter.
Tyreek Hill only had 3 catches, 24 yards. Waddle, 4 catches for 41 yards. That's not good. Every time Miami and Buffalo plays, Miami figures a way to blow this game every time. I mean, dating back to last year when they had the chance to wrap up the division, and they blew it.
Well, Buffalo is one of the teams that takes how they played the Kansas City Chiefs when they had Tyreek Hill. That's how they play Miami. That's what I never understood when Miami came on the scene last year and they were just starting blowing people out of the water. I'm like, why are we playing one safety high? Why are we not bracketing Tyreek Hill? Why are we teaching it differently than when Tyreek Hill was on the Chiefs? It's easy. Keep him in front, keep somebody on top and below him, and he's done. He's wrapped.
Pretty much.
And the Bills, they do that better than anybody. They implemented it. They showed the blueprint on how to do it against Kansas City. It never paid off in the playoffs, but it does against the Dolphins.
I would tell you, I would say this, kind of like how the Chiefs have a lot of real estate. Buffalo has a lot of real estate in Miami. He said, every time they play them, Buffalo's just right there for the taking every time.
I will. When you have the better quarterback, usually in a close game, you'll win.
The other game that happened last week was the Raiders versus the Baltimore Ravens, and this game was very shocking. Baltimore is now 0-2. Raiders win that game 26-23. We have to ask ourselves, did the Baltimore Ravens make a mistake by signing Derrick Henry, and did Derrick Henry make a mistake by going to the Baltimore Ravens? Harbaugh came out and said, we didn't bring Derrick Henry here to run the ball 20-plus times, and we're kind of sitting here then why do you have it?
No, I don't think it was a mistake going there. I think they have an identity crisis.
The O-line is terrible.
Well, that's their own doings. They let a lot of their older veteran guys that still had a lot of ball left in them leave. They're figure it out, Lamar. You're mobile, figure it out. But even with their O-line being not as great as it has been in the past, you still have Derrick Henry, who was 1,000-yard back almost every year with the Tennessee Titans.
I go
with
back.
Ryan Tannehill.
We're 2 weeks in, obviously. Week 1, final drive of the game, didn't see the field.
No.
Against the Raiders, final drive of the game, didn't see the field. This is a dude that has always been on the field.
He's never been known as a pass-catching back. Yeah. But he's situational, I guess you could say. But he could be on the field for a first down, second down, and third down if you use him properly. I don't understand. It's very simple in my mind to use him. There needs to be a lot more play action with him involved, a lot more RPOs, and a lot more read option on who's keeping the ball. If you're trying to hold the edge is going to hold, so that's going to take one less person that's trying to tackle Derrick Henry. A lot more play action if you're pounding, and then you hit him with the play action. You get Lamar on the edge with that speed. And
I just don't know why we're not running more
Flowers?
RPOs. I have a lot of... Is it because the offensive line can't hold up to the RPO?
Well, RPOs are quick, though.
Yes.
Because the offensive line, they don't know if it's a run or a pass. So
then they also have another crisis for Baltimore is the tight end position. Mark Andrews doesn't look right. Isaiah Likely.
Is it really a bad thing to have two...
We have two great tight ends.
A great tight end that's maybe coming back a little bit from his ankle injury that's having to block a little bit more because your offensive line is a little bit of a struggle, but an ascending tight end, Isaiah Likely...
It's not a bad problem to have, but it's you kind of need Mark Andrews needs to it
you have to be able to use them and call plays for both of them. That's a great problem to have, two great tight ends, but maybe they're not running a lot of play action or RPOs because maybe Lamar can't read it.
That's
because you don't ever see Lamar really ever do RPO. You see Mahomes.
Well, people keep talking about him rushing the ball he has no choice because he's running for his life. So
it's too early in the year for Lamar to have in week 1 have 6. That's how you know that game meant so much to them in week 1. He had 16 rushing attempts. Whether it was designed or scrambled and ran, he had 16 rushing attempts in week 1 against Kansas City. But I think maybe he just can't read RPOs, which
it's
is
definitely not
reads.
good. Your chances of making the playoffs, I mean, you're 0-2. You like.
I'm not really worried about that in the long run for them. I think they'll get it figured out. I just think they have an identity crisis. They are struggling to figure out.
Is that an offensive court? Like, obviously, I don't know. I don't think Harbaugh calls the plays. I think the offensive coordinator calls the plays.
Harbaugh's a special
If it
team
keeps
guy.
getting to be this problem, I think they need to maybe make a change at offensive coordinator for sure.
They made a change. I do believe last year they made a change.
So
last offseason to a new OC that was like, oh, they were too run heavy, and then they made a switch, and they're like, oh, well, you aired it out too much last year. You need to get back to ground and pound. Take kind of like an Andy Reid kind of philosophy. Like, you run when, like, have to have a balance in there. You don't need to force one over the other. But Derrick Henry should make passing game and Lamar more dangerous. And it's just not clicking yet. They're too focused on trying to feature one guy for a couple drives, as in Derrick Henry, and then they get pass heavy. Yeah. And really, with that defense they have, you should just be ground and pound. Like, who cares what the outside world? I think they listen to the outside world way too much.
I would agree with you on that one. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. We're going to start with the Carolina Panthers first. Hasn't been good first 2 weeks. Been pretty bad. Got 47 dropped on them in week 1 by the Saints. And then they lose to the Chargers in week 2, 26-3. The Carolina Panthers did make a big change that ruffled a lot of feathers. Bryce Young got benched. Yep. They benched him. They're going to go with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton gonna come
the Red Rifle.
So it's tough because like I do think some of it is Bryce Young, but I also think it's not his fault because we both believe. I don't care if you're the number 1 overall pick or not. I know, quote unquote, the world thinks because you're the number 1 overall pick, you got to come in and play right away. No, I believe that you should sit a full year. Look at the players that have been able to sit a full year and look how they look.
Or at least be able to sit at least about half some games. To sit back there or at least, have a talent around you or, a capable organization that can develop.
The Panthers have came out and said, he still's our guy. We're not trading him. But how can he be your guy if you're benching him? It's 2 weeks in and you're wanting to, quote unquote, make a change. Well,
it's not that trying to make a change to, win. What are you trying to win?
Yeah.
You suck. You suck. Top to bottom.
From owner to the bottom. It's horrible.
Suck. He came out and said that they thought Dan Snyder was the worst owner in NFL history. Then they're like, but the Panthers? They're rivaling that. It's like, that sucks. And so it's hard to say. Everyone's trying to label Bryce Young as a bust.
I've always said this, too. When you look at Bryce Young, and this is for anybody that comes into the league at the quarterback, you think about when they probably started playing the game. Never lost in Pee Wee, never lost in middle school, never lost in high school. He played at Alabama. Alabama don't lose, and then you come to the NFL and you've won 2 games in 19 starts. 2 games. Well, this is the most loss he's ever experienced in his entire life. Everywhere he's probably been, and this is going for anybody that comes in that goes to a crappy organization, your whole life you've had a standard, and it's always been about winning. And then you get drafted high and you go to a team, and that standard is not always where it's be like. It's probably, obviously, at Alabama with Nick Saban, is night and day compared to what he's been in at the Carolina Panthers. I bet he has, the development from coaching to everything that goes about probably was done way better in college than he's getting in the pros at Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's
absolutely.
People that want to, say, well, Bryce Young, he's not making the right throws. He's not getting. How can you say that he's not doing it if he's probably not been developed properly because of who's sat behind him to help him teach? Andy, don't get it wrong, Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback, but he's not going to teach Bryce Young to elevate his game. For example, Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith.
But those are great.
Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre.
But those scenarios that they got to sit, they don't if you have any talent, Aaron Rodgers can pretty much come out and said I don't care to tutor him. If he's there, learn from me. Yeah. And that's what a lot of these guys that have got time to sit, they've had to learn from these guys. But they came into a great organization, like Packers, great run organization. The Chiefs, a great run organization. The Panthers,
no.
They don't. And they don't have any talent. They traded away their talent. Traded away DJ Moore. You gave away talent and to bring in a rookie quarterback.
You might have to, depending on what the Panthers do with Bryce Young, that's a trade you're going to revisit and just constantly stare up like, damn.
No, it doesn't look
because
good.
you could have took C.J. Stroud, but then you got to think about it too. Like, would C.J. Stroud be C.J. Stroud if he went to the Carolina Panthers? Could we be looking at would Bryce Young be?
I don't think even Mahomes would look good in that.
Well,
with that current set roster right now, you could take Mahomes at the peak of his power and place him in there.
They would ruin Patrick
The dude
Mahomes.
dead. The dude's gonna die. The dude's punching somebody, knocking somebody out. Brittany's going off. So no, it would. His brother would be dancing on the half field logo. Like no, it would not be a good look. Like nobody would be successful there. It'd be horrible.
Tom Brady wouldn't even be successful there the way that's ran. You would ruin any quarter. You could take
Peyton Manning would be ruined if he went. Like Peyton Manning wouldn't have been the Peyton Manning. It's such a bad ran organization. So it's hard to say if Bryce Young's a bust or not. Talent wise, I really don't know. But like, how can you say he's not making the reads when all he's so focused about is like his first read's not there, and then all of a sudden in his mind the ball needs to be gone. So now he's looking at the rush and. Now it don't matter, and honestly, he's kind of that point to me where he's fringe, where he's about to be broken.
Yeah, well, think about all the quarterbacks that have been there that moved on that are playing well now. Sam Darnold, looking flawless in Minnesota. Obviously.
Well, Sam Darnold came,
but he's bounced around. Baker Mayfield. So like it's just
the only quarterback
they have not had success since Cam Newton. Like since Cam Newton
and Matt Rivera.
Like it has not been great.
CNC.
So, but. Speaking of
hang on the Bryce Young part.
Okay.
If they would move him, where do you think would be a good spot for him to be moved
to learn? Just
overall, where do you think would be a good landing spot for him to be traded to revitalize his career, to save his career from not being a bust? Like, where would you like to see him land? Obviously, a needy team that needs a quarterback. Where do you think it'd be a good landing spot?
So I need to pick somewhere that needs a quarterback.
Well, yeah, you can't be like, oh, you're gonna go to the. Like the Jets to sit. Like I guess the Jets wouldn't be too bad. If
that's what I was gonna say. The Jets,
but like
somebody that learn.
He's going to be their franchise guy. A team's trading for him is for like their franchise guy.
Honestly, I'd say two teams. I think the Raiders would be a good spot because even though I don't think the Raiders are that great of an organization, they're a hell of a lot better than the Panthers. So I'd say Raiders, and honestly. This is going to sound bad, but they have talent. The Browns.
I think the Browns would still break him. I think the Browns. I like the Raiders. My thought was the Raiders. Like there's a culture thing. It's just not always an organization. The organization kind of helps set the culture, but the players you have there set the culture and the demeanor. And Max Crosby with the Raiders, there's a demeanor that is set, and that head coach.
He's trying to turn them around from a shitty, and I think he's doing a good job.
Well, they've been mid, like they've been mid for a couple years. I mean, just a couple years ago they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
what about the Vikings? I know Sam Darnold's there right now, but like I know they got J.J. McCarthy and obviously the injury, but like because you have your guy JJ. Okay. I'm trying to think. What is another team that like could really use a quarterback?
If you would think of like placing him to kind of sit, learn, and then take over, like the Jets wouldn't be bad.
The Jets
because A-Rod, the Rams wouldn't be bad to sit
behind
Stafford.
The Rams, honestly, sit behind Stafford. I think would be
to pair him with Puka.
That would be honestly. Those would be Those would be my two picks if you got to pick a place for him to go to sit behind somebody. The Jets and the Rams, because those two quarterbacks. Probably the Rams because Stafford would probably teach you. I don't know if Rodgers would still be willing to teach you. Maybe now that he's older and he's on the way.
He taught Zach Wilson.
Yes. So I think those would be two great places. But if a team to go to try to revive the Raiders because the culture they're bringing up there, Max Crosby, a leader, Devontae Adams is there. You have an offensive line.
Bowers, their rookie tight end.
They have weapons.
They have weapons and a culture and a head coach that has set a standard.
And yes.
I mean, because honestly,
I feel like I'm gonna keep it above with you. I feel bad for Bryce Young because this is when you compare his stats right now in the games he's played in to Trevor Lawrence. He's actually got better stats than Trevor Lawrence, but we give Trevor Lawrence a pass because you had Urban Meyer. Bryce Young's for the Carolina Panthers, bro. What more of another excuse do you need?
Like you can take away the 1 year for Trevor Lawrence, and what has he done besides one good season and one comeback?
Like I think people forget Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions as rookie. Like Peyton just threw interceptions out the ass. Like it takes time.
Well, again though, like when you watch quarterbacks in their first year and then like to see kind of development in year 2. But like when you watch a rookie, you kind of want to see like a flash. Like let me see the arm, the escapability now. Like wow me a little bit. Like when you say like oh shit, like when we saw Patrick Mahomes his rookie year in the last game of the season,
you're like, ooh.
We saw him. We were like, ooh, give me.
And then his first year as a starter, it's like it just came out and sprang that thing.
But because he got to sit for years, that helped and got to develop. But like the one glimpse we got out of him, preseason was kind of like, man, okay, like there's something.
Yeah.
But then he got one full game action last year, the season for Mahomes, and we're like, we're drooling, like let me play with this toy, and haven't really saw that out of Bryce Young. I mean, there's been maybe some. Like, it's kind of hard to say because he plays for the Panthers, so he doesn't get a lot of TV time, and they've been bad. So
we'll have to see how it plays out. The Chargers, they're 2-0. J.K. Dobbins, former Baltimore Raven running back, is putting up numbers they have not seen in a Charger uniform since LaDainian Tomlinson. Back-to-back over 100 rushing yards. Dude is killing it right now.
Yeah.
Killing it. Chargers are 2-0. Didn't see that coming. Honestly,
I mean, they haven't really played.
But they're just running the ball. That's Harbaugh style. We're going to run the goddamn ball.
You have nobody to throw the ball to. You got rid of everybody. I mean, J.K. Dobbins having a career year per carry. I mean,
he's looking good.
Everything's up, and that's a dude that came off of 2 years of injuries.
3 years of injuries, honestly, because he tore, came back, got hurt again, came back, tore, and then now he's... having a career. So shout out to J.K. Dobbins. You got him on your fantasy team. I know you kill it right now.
Yeah.
Unlike my fantasy team. 0-2. We trash. But it's okay. Next game up on the list. The New Orleans Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. The Saints beat the Cowboys 44-19. We're gonna start on New Orleans. New Orleans has scored on 15 straight drives before they punted the ball. They went 2 weeks before they punted the ball. 15 straight scoring drives. Derek Carr looking like a top 10 quarterback right now.
MVP.
Alvin Kamara is like going to get paid in the offseason at this current rate.
He found a little bit of fountain of the youth. That's all I know.
44 points on that Dallas Cowboys defense.
That's no Dan Quinn defense. That's all I know.
No, I know Dallas Cowboy fans are missing Dan Quinn on the defensive side of the ball.
I think Micah Parsons missing him. I think everybody on the defensive side is missing him.
Like I said, Alvin Kamara had 4 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 1 passing. Dak, 2 weeks into the season, not looking good, and he got that big, massive NFL history-changing contract, making $60 million per year. And it's just not looking.
$231 to the $240 fully guaranteed. Only $9 million not guaranteed. The thing too is, it's funny when people try to tell me Dak had a great week 1.
No,
his numbers were the same as Deshaun Watson's. It's just his defense and special teams made it easier.
So again, I want to speak on this real quick. So the New Orleans Saints are 2-0.
Yeah,
a little bit of a shocker. No one saw that come, but this is a veteran team. They're pretty much the same team that we've seen last couple of years. Just they got a new offensive coordinator. It looks like it's rolling. Cowboys 1-1, great week 1 against the Browns. Obviously, the defense dominated the Browns.
Yeah.
Come into the Saints and they absolutely got waxed. What do we really make of these Dallas Cowboys? Because they win a game, everybody in the world hypes them up, and then they come out and they do crap like this and lay an egg. Like realistically, like not being biased because obviously we know what the Cowboys are. What is the ceiling for the Cowboys with this team and this defense and this offense? And like, is it going to be another? We're going to get to the playoffs and then you're bounced in week 1 of the playoffs. Like, is that what we're looking at again?
It'd be hard for me to say that they wouldn't make the playoffs, but honestly, I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I think they are like a 500 team. They lost way too much on the offensive side of the ball. They have CeeDee Lamb. That's really it. I mean, they have Ferguson at tight end, who is solid, but the offensive line is nowhere near as what it used to be. The defense is great, but we just Derek Carr and Kamara and Chris Olave torched them.
Pretty much the New Orleans Saints gave you the blueprint how to beat the Cowboys. Run it to the left side every time, and this has always been a hole for Micah Parsons. He can't seem to...
Well, he over-pursues.
He just
always wants the sack, and he over-pursues, and his leg integrity is not always the best.
If the Cowboys continue on this trend of how, like, defense looking bad, do you think that they make coaching changes, like coordinator, head coach, like... Do they? Like, I don't know.
Does it really matter? They didn't give McCarthy a extension.
No,
so he's on the last year of his deal.
So it's like, And Mike Zimmerman, like, he was the former head coach of the Vikings. Like, his defensive scheme, to me, just...
I think it's outdated. Like, they don't really work with the Vikings.
There was a reason why Cowboy fans were very upset that Dan Quinn was not given the head coaching job for the Cowboys, and then he left, and some of those guys that were on that Cowboys defense left, and they went to the Commanders with Dan Quinn, and could Micah Parsons, after this year, be on his way out of the Cowboys? I mean, all that money to CD, Dak... Well, is there any left to give to Micah, who wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league? I don't know.
They're going to have to bring out the Brink truck again to make him the highest non-paid QB.
On to the next game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Detroit Lions. Tampa Bay won that game 20-16. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 2-0. The Lions moved to 1-1. Baker found a home, dude. Baker looks good. Like,
it's just funny what happens to somebody that gets to a stable organization that actually believes in them.
And that wants him. And, like...
That's what he said. He feels wanted. But also, I think, the number one overall pick, part of, like, what he is kind of, like, faded away.
Yes.
He's kind of been able to, like...
You know what he is.
Less spotlight, and he's just been able to just, like, immerse in Tampa, and... Honestly, like, he's looking pretty good. I mean, he's even said there's a sideline clip, and he was like, you leave Mike Evans 1-on-1, I'm just going to throw it up. Just in the vicinity. You don't got to be a good boy. He's just going to go get it.
Yeah.
And that's what Mike Evans does.
I have to ask you, what do you think the ceiling is for Tampa? Wild card? Is it a wild card team for them? Do you think they can win the division?
I think they're going to make a push for I think they'll be probably in the wild card round. Whether it's winning the division or a wild card team, I think so far it looks like a playoff team.
I want your opinion on this too. Was this a bad loss for Detroit?
No, I mean Tampa's looking pretty good. It was a hard.
Tampa's kind of like New Orleans. They're a solid.
Well, they're coming out decently
team.
hot. They're coming out hot out the gate offensively, but again, it was not like they got blown out like Dallas did.
Goff did have a bad game. I think Goff had 2 interceptions. I think
so.
So I mean, St. Brown didn't play the final 5 plays of that game.
He got banged up. I just think Detroit.
Expectations now, like you're not that. We've been on that train for Detroit. Like, man, wait till you see you sit. Now you've exceeded. You're not under the radar anymore. The expectations.
Well, everybody's going to be giving you their best shot because you were there. You were that team in the playoffs, and so you're not under the radar. So you're going to get the best of the best and shot. But like I think teams that make deep runs in the playoffs, they've had less time off, and they got to try to get back in that groove, and they know how to do it. And Jared Goff's a wily veteran now at this point. I'm not really worried about Detroit at all. Getting it figured out.
We had the Colts versus the Packers. Colts lost that game 10-16. Green Bay got their first win without Jordan Love. Malik Willis stepped in, filled the road to the tee. Didn't overdo it. Did what he needed to do. They came out. Of this game, for me personally, I was actually disappointed in Anthony Richardson. After the Week 1 performance he had against Houston and then the performance he had against the Green Bay Packers, I was completely disappointed, honestly.
Well, I think for AR, he's just trying to take big shots way too much instead of taking like the check down or like the 5-6 yard pass.
Yeah.
He has the highest yard per attempt at like 11.3, 11.6 per attempt. He's throwing past the first down mark almost every time. Yeah. He's either sitting in the pocket too long trying to find it, so he's either having to get flushed or take an unnecessary sack, which he doesn't need to be taking any unnecessary hits, as we've already saw last year. So he needs to dial it down. Like, that's kind of a little bit on the coaching. Quit giving him so many like deep routes.
To me, not like dumb down the offense a little bit. Like, okay, like we're not trying
not necessarily dumb it down, but like make the game plan where like let him take a shot so he can air the arm out.
Yes.
But like you have to also give him like the dink and dunk, like give him like the RPOs, give him the quick screens, and try to shorten what he has to process out. Because again, he only played a couple games, then got to sit and watch.
Yes.
Which I think was again is a great thing.
Honestly, for Green Bay against that game, Josh Jacobs in the defense. Josh Jacobs just absolutely.
It was like 70s ball, ground and pound and play great defense.
So. The Cleveland Browns beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 18-13. Jags are 0-2, and honestly, my comment for both these teams, honestly, both these teams are ass. Like, let's keep it a buck.
Did you see at any point the Jags either fire their head coach or Mac and Cheese takes over?
I don't think Mac and Cheese is going to take over for just the fact that Trevor Lawrence got $55 million.
I mean...
But I do think Doug Peterson could be on the verge of being fired. Like, it's not...
1 year you make the playoffs and then have that run, and then following year.
Speaking of the Cleveland Browns, something that was later reviewed, the Cleveland Browns in the offseason removed a stipulation in Deshaun Watson's contract that basically said that he can't be suspended.
If he gets suspended for these allegations that have came back out, his guaranteed money is no longer what's left is no longer fully guaranteed. He gets nothing.
When we saw that, it kind of makes you think: are the Browns trying to get from underneath Deshaun Watson?
Well, I don't think they're trying to get out from underneath him. I mean, he's definitely not the guy that they thought they were getting. But why would you safeguard money for somebody that again couldn't be backed out because you already missed out a full year of him?
Yes,
and you missed out last year on him too because he got hurt. But I mean, if you were an organization, you're gonna throw. If you can save yourself money, not pay somebody money,
because there are more allegations that have came out on Deshaun Watson that are unrelated to the allegations that he's already dealt with, and the NFL's monitoring it.
But they're not going to suspend him.
He's not going on the commissioner's list.
You got to see what happens.
Honestly, it's not good.
What's wrong with their offense though for the Browns? Like Amari Cooper is a very talented number one wide receiver, and nothing.
They're tight end, solid. Obviously, Nick Chubb is out, but
they had a good run game last year. With Ford.
I think it's time to accept that Deshaun Watson's not the dude. You didn't get Houston Deshaun. He's gone. And it's sad too because we all remember, when Deshaun came out. Debo from Clemson was like, "This is the Michael Jordan of the NFL. This is the guy."
It was Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
We're supposed to be, and then
it was supposed to be the Brady and Manning, and
it's
then
not.
He fallen off like most quarterbacks. They get paired.
He's fallen off. Like to me, Deshaun Watson just doesn't. To me, when you watch Deshaun Watson play, it's almost like I'm not saying he forgot how to play football, but it's like he forgot how to play football. Like he's forcing everything. He's just he don't look good. He rolls out of the pocket. It's like, what are you looking at? And then he gets hit. I'm like, you didn't want to throw it away? Like, you just took a hit for no reason? Like, you let a dude that was 10 yards back run up and get you? Like, and you're just standing there? I don't know what's going on. Like, the Browns are hard to watch.
Yeah.
They're really hard to watch right now. Like, they're just like the Jags. Like, Trevor Lawrence is getting paid off something he did in college. Like, that's crazy. I didn't know you could still get paid for something you did in college. I did. $55 million per year. Like,
I didn't know you could get that kind of money at quarterback.
Like Trevor Lawrence to me now, unless otherwise proven, is overrated, overpaid, and like I think the Jags are going to regret that contract if things don't get better. Like it's going to be a serious regret of money given.
We are so fast to announce like Bryce Young bust after 1 year bust, 2 games in bust. I mean I did it, but I think it's more of an organization. The Jaguars aren't like a horrible ran organization, but I mean Urban Meyer, but Trevor Lawrence has all the tools, and they're a very talented offensive roster. I mean, they ooze talent at every position, and he struggles. He is struggling. At what point do we stop babying this guy?
He's very babied.
You're a bust. You are a franchise backup. I don't know how he got paid. I didn't understand why they paid him. People are coming out here saying, "Oh, he saved the franchise. He saved the Jaguars." From what? The blowout loss they brought you guys back in one time?
And that's because Herbert threw like 1,600 interceptions? Like
Herbert hella choked? I didn't know you got paid for one playoff game in which you did in Clemson. I didn't know NIL money worked like that in the NFL. I didn't know you could push that forward. But I really think you could see Mac Jones this year being the starter with Trevor Lawrence as the backup, even though they just paid the man.
That would definitely write the writing on the wall. Like he's done. Like,
well, I don't think you move off of. I don't think obviously you can't get rid of him because you just paid him. But you don't trade for Mac Jones unless you think the potential might be something that why'd you trade for Mac Jones?
Yeah, that's something we.
It was a very weird trade for a backup, but
it was a head scratcher for sure.
If you're sitting there 1-6, 2-5. You're telling me that maybe you don't look at going at Mac Jones and sitting Trevor Lawrence because clearly it's not working, and you're talented on both ends. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars, that year they made the playoffs, I'm like, oh, they're going to be here next year, and they were kind of like, it's kind of subpar, and then just bottomed out. You have offensive talent, and it just isn't coming together.
We had the San Francisco 49ers versus the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings won 23-17. The Vikings are 2-0, and that's a team we did not expect to see 2-0. Bad loss for San Francisco? Bad loss?
I mean, if you can be early in the season and have a bad loss,
A lot of people made a lot of, I guess, made a big deal out of it. At the end of that game, when they were doing the handshake, Brock went up to the defensive coordinator for Minnesota. Like, that was a hell of a defensive scheme. Like, he was shook about the defensive scheme. People were like making a big deal out of it. Like, they were unprepared for what Minnesota was going to throw at them. So I'm like,
it happens, and that's just not on him.
He just kind of got out coached. But Brian Flores is Brian
Flores is
like that dude knows defense.
Well, Brian Flores is one of the top minds when it comes to calling a defense. So the fact that what's wrong with giving somebody kudos? Like you had us fooled the whole game. We couldn't really get it figured out.
He had pressure in Brock's face the whole game.
Which isn't on just Brock. Like, that's also on Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
Like he couldn't get it figured out either, and so that's.
But before we move off this
game, knock it.
The Vikings did lose Justin Jefferson in the third quarter, but he's good to go for week 3.
It's like a quad?
Yeah, quad. And then for the 49ers, it's only getting worse from Christian McCaffrey. Debo's out multiple weeks, hamstring, and now George Kittle could be out week 3, hamstring. It's not looking good for San Francisco right now. So we'll have to wait and see how that looks.
If I'm Brock Purdy, bro, my shoulder hurts. I'm out, too. Pull me, coach. Who do I got out there?
But
next game, Ayuk and Mason.
We had the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. Seattle did win that game in overtime, 23-20. Seattle is 2-0. This is the first time a rookie head coach started his career 2-0. New England, though, they're competitive. Like, that defense, still that defense. Yeah. They're in games. But
Jacoby Brissett's no wash at quarterback either, though.
No.
I mean, he's always been very solid whenever he's gotten the opportunity.
People keep asking the question, when is Drake May going to take over?
Never.
Not this season. Not this year, bro. Sit, learn the game. This is the problem where the double-sided sword with people. Oh, you got to play him. But then when you play him and he's bad, oh, my God, get him off the field. He's ass. That's why you let him sit, watch the game, and that way you don't have to worry about that issue.
It's a development process, and then next year, will he struggle? Yeah, will he struggle with the speed of the game? Absolutely, but he'll be more prepared and he'll be smarter up here to know how to handle stuff versus just being thrown to the wolves like we do with a lot of these quarterbacks.
When you think about Seattle right now, 2-0, and their division they're in is pretty wrapped up with injuries. Could we potentially see Seattle?
Well, I mean, you got the Rams decimated, Niners decimated.
The Vikings, obviously. The Vikings are in the division, correct, too? No, that's NFC.
I think that's the
Cardinals. Cardinals, so.
That's going to be a tough division.
That's going to be an interesting division, how you toss that one up.
A lot of people thought the Rams might be able to take the division.
They've decimated that.
They lost everybody. And the Niners, I think the Niners are kind of the front runners, but they've got to start winning.
Yep. Next up, we had the Jets and the Tennessee Titans. Jets won that game 24-17. Jets are now 1-1. Titans are 0-2. We need to talk about the Will Levis situation. 2 weeks of bad plays. Head coach has been very vocal about Will Levis making mistakes, and you're a grown-up. You should know not to do that. Bluntly going at his quarterback to the world, to the media. Some people like it, some people don't. What is your thoughts? Is that a good way to start a relationship between a new head coach and...
I think the head coach has a firm grasp on what his quarterback can and can't handle in the media, and I think this head coach's way of coming at his quarterback. Okay. I think the relationship is honestly probably pretty solid, and he's just letting his frustration know, you have to be better so we can be better.
Right. Next question I want to ask you about the quarterback. Did the Tennessee Titans keep the right quarterback? Did they? They had
yes.
Will Levis and Malik Willis. Did they keep the right guy?
Kept the right guy.
They kept the right guy.
I think they kept. Well, between the two, yes. I don't necessarily think he's the guy. Time will tell. But it's tough when you played the Bears and you come out to the media and if we just punted every time, we probably would have won. And then he's made some.
You have to admit though, Will Levis's 2 mistakes. He's been a meme the last 2 weeks in the NFL. But that interception, dropping on his knees, and then I don't know what that was when he fell to the ground. I hear Mike. I don't know what we're doing. Even the head coach was like, "What the fuck are we doing?"
It's just kind of head scratching plays that again
cost you the game because you lost by 7.
A young quarterback, you live and you learn, and that as much as his head coach is coming out and criticizing him in the media, you have to also give giving him structure in the locker room and in the room, the QB room.
Quick on this one, Jets obviously win this game by 7. Still a lot of work to do for the Jets, right?
Well, I think A-Rod's just still
rusty,
and he's still warming up because he hasn't played ball in almost 2 years.
Pretty much.
So he's very rusty, and it shows. But like he's also has a great connection. Bryce Hall's looking great. Wilson.
Kind of waiting for that Garrett Wilson Aaron Rodgers connection to really just.
We've seen some
ready
flashes.
To see it catch fire. So
the defense, honestly, their front 7 for me has been surprisingly weak, but they did lose. Some guys at free agency.
Johnson, he's out, Achilles.
And then some injuries.
Non-contract. And I think C.J. Mosley got hurt too, but I don't know the extent of his injury. So, but
they're running.
And then at this next game that we're going to talk about, I know you're excited to talk about this game. I just know you are. The New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders. The Giants lost this game 18-21. The Giants are the first team ever to score 3 touchdowns and lose the game.
Why do they keep going for 2?
I don't know. That's a stat only the Giants could. They scored 3 touchdowns. The Commanders don't even score a touchdown, and they still beat you. Come on, the NFL script is real for the Giants, dog. It's so real. Like Malik Neighbors had a hell of a game for the Giants, dude. That dude out there going crazy. But.
Why do they keep going for 2? Why did they keep going for 2? When I saw that, I'm like, touchdown, go for 2. Touchdown, go for 2. Touchdown, go for 2. When do you just stop and just kick the field goal, the extra point? You would have won.
You would have won the game. You wouldn't.
I was so confused. I'm like, extra point, no good. Extra 2 point, no good. 2 point, no good. What the fuck are we doing?
Shout out to the Commanders, man. Shout out to the Commanders.
Got Daniels' first win.
Yep. So. The Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams lost this game 10-41 to Arizona.
No, they got spanked.
They got spanked. We've already said before the Rams decimated with injuries from top to bottom. Now. Both wide receivers gone. Puka, Kupp gone. Offensive line atrocious. Now there's rumors. Will Matthew Stafford be moved to a contender? I don't know. Arizona, wow. Talk about a completely different team from week 1 to week 2. Kyler Murray's like, not my job to give Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball. Week 2, he comes out, Marvin Harrison Jr., good God.
Well, it wasn't a different team. Like
different quarterback.
They looked great last week. For week 1, he missed Marvin Harrison Jr. wide open, but they were still competitive. They looked great on both sides.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
But he had a showing out party.
Oh, my God.
Think
about this. All 4 incompletions that Kyler Murray had, they were all passes to Marvin Harrison Jr.
I don't know why it took him how throughout the offseason and how they're coaching to figure out that he needs 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
He's the best wide receiver coming out of college that we've had in a long time. You have him in your wide receiver room, you have him on your team, and he's not told, hey, look for him on the last play in week 1. He looked him off too. But, he definitely tore it up in the first half of that game.
Yes, he did. Next game up, we had what we thought was going to be the return of Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos, but instead, Russell was still out with an injury. Pittsburgh did win that game 13-6. Again, Fields has looked good. He got a touchdown. Steelers' defense is top 5. Wilson did get the game ball. Mike Tuck said they called it a petty game ball. They gave it to Russell Wilson.
Not Colin call that, or did Justin Fields call it that?
Mike Tomlin and Fields both called it that.
A petty game ball.
Petty game ball.
I guess that's just the thing they do when you face your former team, whether or not you play or not. You get the game ball, which if I'm Russell Wilson, I'm like, I don't want that shit.
Bo Nix has been the starter 2 games, 4 interceptions total in 2 games. I mean,
a funny clip from him when he was in the media, or he had his media press conference. They asked him what happened on that interception in the end zone. He's like, well, I dropped back and I threw the ball and it was intercepted. I'm honestly, like, fair enough, dude. He's like, I threw it and it was intercepted.
I tell you this, Pittsburgh. Question becomes does Fields stay the starter? It looks like going into week 3, he's going to remain the starter.
At some point, you have to kind of start taking the reins off him a little bit every week and kind of giving more to him. But, it's kind of tough as a head coach.
I'm going to ask you this before you go any further. If Fields keeps this job the rest of the year, is Russell Wilson done? Is this a bad look for Russell?
No, because Justin Fields is better than Russell Wilson. He's younger. He has a more lively arm. He's more mobile. Like, Justin Fields should have been the day one starter to begin with, but a lot of people, including myself, thought Justin Fields should have sat and learned and tried to unlearn a lot of the mistakes and like the bad things that happened with the Bears and being hit all the time and always just scrambling and stay within the pocket in the confines of everything. Seriously?
Gotta love when work calls you. Get it, my guy.
Hello?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think Justin Fields, he won't have to do too much, especially when you got a Steelers defense that can do everything that they can from top to bottom. So be very curious to see where the Pittsburgh Steelers can go with Justin Fields and plus the defense that they got. We'll have to see.
I just think it's hard to. I think it's easier if you put Russell Wilson back in as the starter and him struggle to go back to Justin Fields than to keep playing Justin Fields and he starts struggling. Then you go to Russell Wilson. He struggled. Now you just now kind of what do you do? I think it's kind of Mike Tomlin's kind of issue in trying to handle these guys. But so far, Justin Fields honestly has done what he's been asked, is to manage the game and not turn the rock over.
And he's done that. Let's get to the game that I know is going to get you a little bit fired up. We had the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City won that game 26-25. Bengals 0-2. Chiefs 2-0. The refs helped us win, man. The refs helped us win, man. The refs told 33 of the Bengals to jump into Rashid Rice so they could throw the flag so that the refs could get blamed for making us win the game. I
guess that's what it is. I mean, PI is PI. Like, he got there early. And honestly, we didn't deserve to win that game. Mahomes was atrocious. Like, it was bad. The Chiefs.
The one great thing we had was Isaiah Pacheco that game, and he went down. He's out
now on IR with a fractured tibia, so he's out up to 8 to maybe potentially 12 weeks. But on the PI, it was PI. Like, if you take your hate away from the Chiefs, and if you remove yourself being a fan on either team,
take away just hating the Chiefs
and being a fan on either side, and you just watch it, you're like, oh, wow, that's PI. He got there early. Right? Everyone's trying to say, oh, it's overthrown. When I jump to get it, and you hit me, and you're right above me, and the ball almost hits you, like, I don't think that was an overthrown ball at all. And some people try to say, well, there was holding on that play. Well, there's holding on every play on that. If there was holding called every play, because there is holding on every play, we would get nowhere. Nobody would score anything.
Joe Burrow had a great game. Patrick Mahomes had a horrible game. 2 horrible interceptions. Patrick Mahomes has got to get out of this funk. We're very fortunate to be 2-0. I mean, you go back to week 1, Isaiah Likely, foot out of bounds. Like, obviously, they were going to go for 2. Now, whether or not they got that way or not. This game, I mean, yeah. I mean, outside of, Jamar Chase getting strapped up and then, throwing a damn tantrum.
Cost his team. Like, if you
really want to say it, Jamar Chase cost his team to win.
You want to complain about a flag.
That 15-yard pushback, come on, bro. And then you push your quarterback, the dude that's trying to stop you, and you put his hands on him. Then your head coach is trying to talk to you, and you're trying to walk away from him, and you're still throwing a tantrum. It's not good for Jamar Chase. It's not good for Jamar Chase.
No, it was. The ref let him say what he had to say,
and then
the ref walked off, and then he chased after him. He still let him say what he had to say. Then Joe Burrow got in the middle and tried to stop him, and he kept going at it. He was like, all right, fuck it, and threw the flag. It's like, well, there you go. You don't want to complain about a call. Blame Jamar Chase.
Because that right there was a very crucial point in the game. Kashi was able to give us the ball back, which led to us getting where we got. So, but
you cost yourself multiple times. The Joe Burrow fumble, return for a touchdown. Jamar Chase fracturing, like he seems like he's doing a lot this year, on and off the field.
Well, he did. A report came out that he's not going to seek a contract extension from the Cincinnati Bengals at all the rest of this year. But he also feels like the team misled him. Like, the team lied to him. I don't know, bro. You have 2 years left on your deal. I don't know how they could have misled you.
Well, he's this year and his 5th year next year.
So it's
I guess the Bengals, they don't do extensions during this season. They've done it once in their franchise, and it was just like a +1.
Yeah. So moving on to the Sunday night game was the Chicago Bears versus the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans did win that game 19-13. The Bears defense is solid. We see that.
Yeah.
And another thing that we see that it wasn't a Justin Fields problem in Chicago. Like, it was not. DJ Moore looks like he's ready to swing on Caleb Williams, bro. That meme, him just sitting there like
pissed.
Like, dude advocated for Fields to stay. They didn't do that. Caleb Williams is trying to do things that he did in college, and he needs to understand that you're not that fast of a runner. These dudes that you're trying to outrun, they are the best of the best.
Best of both athletes.
And you're not getting away from them. He needs to throw the ball. I've seen so far in the 2 weeks, Caleb Williams has looked better when he throws the ball under 2.5 seconds. When he tries to keep that ball and he tries to play, I'm going to say, quote, try to play Patrick Mahomes, trying to get out there, run around, it's not good. It's not good. But to me, I think the Bears have a solid defense. They have plethora of offensive weapons. I don't trust the coaching. I don't like the offensive scheme. And to me, watching that game, it was never a Justin Fields problem. It was a Chicago problem, in my personal opinion.
He has more talent than Justin Fields had.
Ever had.
And a better offensive line than Justin Fields had. But it seems like what you said, like when he gets the ball off in like 2.5 seconds, he's fine. Well, every quarterback's good when they hit their first read open.
Yeah.
Bang, I got you. It's when you have to make the progression reads. Apparently he's struggling with that, which is something you would expect out of a rookie with all the speed that's in the NFL. And honestly, every DC, they light up rookies. They bring the house a lot. They blitz a lot to speed them up. And
he was pressured a lot. A lot. That offensive line gave up a lot.
Well, when you pretty much bring the house almost every time and you're not making adjustments on the offensive side of the ball, what do you really expect? But he doesn't. He's not fast. Like, he gets out of the pocket and then almost immediately the defense is on top.
You may have been able to get away with that in college and make it expected. You're not getting away with that in the National Football League. And his footwork needs to get a little bit better. Because to me, I think a lot of his problem is and when he should be dropping back, he's stepping forward. And when he should be stepping back, vice versa, he's going the wrong direction, or he's not sliding to the right spot. He's sliding into danger. He's going about it all wrong. So, but outside of that, I think the Bears can build something again. I just don't trust their coaching on the offensive side. I don't trust the coaching period at all. The defense is solid. The defense held that Houston C.J. Stroud team. They were in C.J. Stroud's face. The one problem I had is the refs did miss a hip drop tackle that took out Joe Mixon. Yep. I know you had to be very upset. That's on your fantasy team. You're ready to come to the TV like, woo! But outside of that, that's all what I got to say about that game. I don't know if there's anything.
What do you think about after the game when C.J. Stroud went up to him and people
had him on the
back and Caleb Williams pretty much just tried to blow him off.
Yeah, and C.J. was like, I wasn't trying to little boy. I'm just, I understand what he's been through. I was there last year, and the fact that Caleb Williams tried to blow him off is, again, the diva aspect of him that's been always a character issue with him. Like, can you, so...
C.J. Stroud really was like, no, come here. And literally had to pull him and stop him.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you something. To me, as a rookie quarterback, when you're playing a guy like C.J. Stroud, who's an ascending superstar in the league, could you imagine if that was like Patrick Mahomes? Like, bro, you better be soaking every quarterback comes up to talk to you that's a veteran, whatever. Like, take that, soak that shit in, dude. But again,
you should feel some kind of way that somebody that hasn't taken it, he just could a good game and keep moving. He was like, "Hey, come here."
Let's talk.
And he's trying to talk, and he was trying to walk off.
And hit the face, Caleb. I don't want to hear nothing you say. Caleb, you shouldn't be telling me nothing. No, dude, that's C.J. Stroud. That dude was in the MVP conversation for a moment. Had his team, took a team that nobody expected last year, and is on superstar status now.
But a lot of no-name players that nobody really knew a whole lot about, and Caleb Williams was sitting there with studs.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Monday night game. We had the Atlanta Falcons, a.k.a. Kirko Chains, versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles blew it. I really want to talk about that final drive for the Atlanta Falcons. Where the fuck was that the whole fucking game? Where was that the whole game? You give me that offense. Somebody must have told Kirk Cousins, hey man, this isn't primetime football, bro. It's Sunday at noon, dog. Go out there and just do it. It's noon. Kirk Coach is like, I got this, dog. I got this. I'm going out there and sling that thing.
Minute 6 seconds, bam, down the field. Zipped it around. Looked good.
The Philadelphia Eagles are 2-9, and dating back to last year, 2-9. Saquon did have that big drop, but it's more the fact of why didn't you run the ball? Nick Sirianni game management, fucking horrible. Don't trust it. Don't like it. And there's questions already surrounding him because him and Jalen Hurts don't get along. Nick Sirianni is actually just what you define as a game manager. That's all he is. He don't call the offense. He don't call the defense. He's basically just a cheerleader on the sideline with a mic.
Well, a lot of head coaches don't call plays per se, but they have input on
he don't have no input. He has nothing
on what is called. He has input of what's being called. He has. There's no way he doesn't.
He's horrible at it.
But Well, I mean, he's a very young coach, a very young, man, and he has, he's learning stuff. He's been on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl. But after the game, Jalen Hurts spoke to the team, and
Nick Sirianni
said not. He didn't say it. He's like, "There's nothing more to need to be said." Jalen Hurts said it all. Said it well. I'm like, well, I mean, like the quote unquote maybe a little fractured relationship, but like. I mean, it sounds like they're seeing a little bit eye to eye there.
Like, to be honest, like, the Eagles shouldn't have lost this game. There was no reason for you to lose this game.
Well, they shouldn't have lost the game. Saquon shouldn't have dropped that pass. Maybe should have ran the ball a little bit more. Maybe, but they still had a chance to go and win the game.
Yes.
Don't know where Jalen Hurts was throwing that ball.
You have to ask yourself about Jalen Hurts, though. Like, his arm talent.
The arm talent is there. Like, I mean, he's accurate. It might come and go, as a lot of some of these mobile quarterbacks, they comes and goes.
Footwork.
Well, you got to think, mobile quarterbacks, they run a lot, so you get fatigued, and so, like, what's going to wane?
I just think and I'm a big advocate for Jalen Hurts. I just think sometimes his decision-making in certain situations is questionable at times. Like, bro, like, where were you going with that? Like, come on now.
Well, I would need a lot of explanation on where you were going with that pass deep downfield when you didn't need that big chunk. You still had one more timeout. You could have put that ball anywhere.
Well, Smith was still trying to come around the route. The ball was already. Smith's like trying to take off, and it was too late. Bates had already read the play, and it was over. Like,
well, I think maybe
literally the ball came out as Smith was breaking off the route, and Smith's like, you see Smith look up like, oh shit, like it's already. He wasn't expecting it to be out yet, and Bates read it the whole way. Bates came flying, and that was it. So.
It was a bad read. He must not somehow playing cover 2. He was so deep, didn't see him.
2 more topics I want to talk to you about before we wrap this up. Something you want to talk about that we forgot to talk about. Is Justin Tucker washed? Kicker, Baltimore Ravens, is he washed?
I don't think he's washed. I just
think... Is he washed, dog?
Everybody else is doing what he was doing. Everybody else is now kicking almost 60-plus yard field goals, the 55-yard field goals. Everyone was like, you got to like 45.
I agree. I don't think he's washed. He's getting older. This happens.
Well, he is getting older, but like everybody's doing it now. It's kind of like Seth Curry. He used to shoot logo threes, but now everybody's shooting logo threes. Now Seth Curry might be better at it. If you had to choose anybody kicker in the league, you're probably taking him second behind Bucker. He's done in the biggest clutch moments. Like, you need a clutch kick.
The 2 top kickers in the league, Harrison Buckner,
the goal line to 60-plus yards out. You're going to take probably Butker and then Justin Tucker still.
Absolutely.
But we have some great extending kickers in the league.
Like,
and I'm here for these 60-yard bombs. Tucker's
nice.
Tucker is a trend sender, really. Kind of like Curry with all the threes. He really pushed the envelope to say, look, I can really kick this far.
Yes, I can.
And it's something that's a very big thing to have in your arsenal as an offense.
And I think, and again, too, like Pat McAfee said, people that dog on kickers, people don't realize how hard it is really kicking that ball.
It's hard to kick a football.
It's hard to kick a football. I'm not going to dog on it. I know as fans, like, damn, man, how'd you miss that? But at the same time, like, you got to kick wind, angle, all that into account. So
it's just like 60 yards. That's 60 yards. That ball gotta fly. Some quarterbacks can't even.
Imagine that dude go line up to kick you and punch you in the head, boy. Be gone, baby. One more thing I want to talk to you about that was said on a podcast today. Mel Kiper, more known for his draft day analysis, college football, says that the 2 deep safety should be banned from football. Basically saying cover 2, get it out of football. It's bad. What is your thoughts on saying the 2 deep safeties need to go?
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of, like, shot plays out of the way because obviously your safeties are deep, so no one's getting.
To be fair, Mel Kiper's example was pretty ass, talking about
Terry Bradshaw.
Terry Bradshaw throwing the ball. I'm like, I don't know if I'd be using that man as an example.
He's not wrong, though, in the sense of when you're watching the game, you don't see those guys. They're so
far back because they don't want to give up the deep shot.
You don't see them, but you can make an argument that it's the offense's job to make them bring a safety down. But I mean, like, you could, like, potentially, I wouldn't be mad at them making them guys
like can't sit so far back, like you can't be like,
because he made a good a good point about the tush push. Like, well, now the guy that pushes his tush has to be a yard back, can't be right on top of him.
If anything, I would say make them, they can't be so far back, bring them up a little bit, because all you gotta do is just backpedal and be right back there if you need to. I mean, you know where you gotta be, but
I mean, again, you could get caught thinking, it might be a run, and then now you're out of position. Everybody likes to see the big play, and if we're in an entertainment, league as the NFL is, like, bringing them safeties down, or only having one safety deep, but not both. Having one safety has to be, like 15 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's only 5 yards past the first down marker. Like, that wouldn't be horrible, and maybe something potentially that they could look at. I wouldn't be overly opposed to. Because we all like seeing these quarterbacks that, when that kicker's kicking 60-plus yard field goals, we like seeing quarterbacks launch 70-plus yard bombs.
Absolutely. So, real quick to wrap this up. Thursday Night Football, Patriots, Jets. Who do you got? Who you rocking with?
Oh, it's going to be the Jets.
Jets? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Giants, Browns.
Yeah, we'd rather go Browns.
This one would be interesting. Bears, Colts. I'm going to think the Colts get their first win.
I'm going to go with the Bears. The Bears have the better defense.
Okay.
So.
Vikings, Texans. That's tough. I'm going to stay with Houston.
I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Okay. I like it. Saints, Eagles. I'm going Saints.
Shit.
I'm going Saints. I'm going to ride with that train.
Yeah, I'm going Saints. The offense is high, and the Eagles, a little worrisome on the defensive side.
Steelers, Chargers.
It's Steelers.
Steelers?
You ain't going to be able to run the ball on the Steelers, so they're going to have to actually throw it.
Broncos, Bucks. Packers, Titans. I'm going to go Packers.
I'm going to go Titans. I think the QB don't make the mistake.
Okay. Panthers, Raiders.
Raiders, yeah.
I know you really thought about saying the Panthers.
I thought about it. I was like, no, I got to give the Raiders a
Dolphins, Seahawks. I'm going to go Seahawks.
No Tua, yeah.
Lions, Cardinals. I'm torn on this one. I'm going to go Cardinals.
I think the Lions get the second win of the season.
Ravens, Cowboys. I'm going to go Baltimore, baby.
I think with that Cowboys, it's at home. Give me Cowboys.
Okay. 49ers, Rams. Niners.
Yeah, the Niners have defense still.
Chiefs, Falcons.
ATL, baby. Not Chiefs.
Chiefs, baby. Jags, Bills.
We have 2 Monday night games.
Yep.
Give me the Bills.
Bills, obviously.
Yeah, Bills.
Commanders, Bengals. Go, Commanders, baby.
The Bengals get their first win of the season finally.
So those are our Week 3 picks. Have to tune in to next week to see how we did. You guys have a great weekend, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.